this.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
okay,
I'm
yeah.
Pat.
Okay, I'm Jeffrey.
Jeff is outlining his strategy for working over the McDay's
Well,
dollar menu.
and that's the thing when it comes down to what do you want? You
So,
want
so run that by me again.
all right. So on the dollar menu,
Right.
okay.
And the items there are $1 now. They're not like $1.10.
No, they call it like the value menu or something like that.
So there are some items on there that are like $1.10.
Right.
Got it.
Right. So the thing is, if you get like a double cheeseburger, it'll say like $2.39, right? But if you buy two of them, you get the second one for $1.
Okay, I'm tracking.
That's their dollar menu.
And you can do that with a 6-piece too?
That is correct.
Okay.
So instead of getting a 10-piece for like $14, you get 12 for like $4. Yeah, I know. You know I'm not joking.
I know you're not kidding, man. Yeah, I saved those motherfuckers when I get
them. Yeah. So yeah, you get 12, and it ends up being like $4. So
okay,
you end up spending like $11-12 on this order.
Okay.
Right?
Did you get fries?
I don't
yeah, I don't usually do fries.
I don't waste time with fries anymore. Fries is that's peasant food. I'm done with them unless you're really giving me a look of
like yams and everything.
No, I don't. Yams would be a step up.
Oh, yeah,
this is the thing. You have to basically, like, if you're going to waste my time with fucking fries, regular ass fries, right? You'd better be doing something, spectacular with them. But this does not apply to like tater tots. The tater tot is not a fry. It's a specialty thing.
Yeah.
Curly fries, not a fry.
Not a fry.
Right.
Hash brown, not a fry.
Correct. So
it's a giant tater tot, but
well, pounded flat like a cutlet.
I mean, yeah, it's a tater patty.
It's a fried potato cutlet. Yeah,
right.
That is correct. Yeah. If you want to really goose up something that is, again, poor people food, but make it sound fancy, yeah. But yeah, so you can get out of there with a ton of food, and that is 2 meals at least.
Okay.
Right? So to get in and out of there, you have 2 meals, $6. You can make that 3 meals easily because the first thing that you want to do is you don't want to let McNuggets sit.
No, you can't.
They
yeah.
They do not keep. No.
No, they petrify. Yeah.
They do. So if you're committed, you're like, I got 12 McNuggets, that's my meal. Right?
Okay.
And then you can get 2 to 3 meals out of that, depending on what you're getting. At $12, like, it's the old days, man. You can actually get. You are getting molested.
I know, dude. So, the dog smells the taco seasoning.
But she likes it, man.
Like whacking off of me.
I tell you, her level of comfort with you right now is just ridiculous. It's amazing.
Should have brought a cookie.
You don't need to. You don't need to buy her off anymore. Yeah,
it's true.
But yeah, that's the working over the menu as far as like, can you afford to go to McDonald's nowadays? Yes.
$12.
Yeah, like 2 of.
See, and I've found there's like I do the same thing with Arby's now. Arby's is kind of my go-to. No, dog. No.
She marketed.
You gotta pull this thing out.
All right.
It's just not enough room for me and dog. I'm not as skinny as I used to be.
Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. She finds you so comforting.
It's
right
okay,
now.
man. It's just not enough room.
I get it.
Right now, I don't even have a belt to loosen. So.
Well, I feel like me, you've also sort of graduated to.
I ordered more of these pants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Like I wore jeans the other day. They were ridiculously uncomfortable.
Felt like vinyl.
Right. It just felt like cardboard. Yeah, but anyway, my thing lately has been the Arby's. So you can go there and you can get out of that place with $11 and get 2 of the big size beef and cheddars out of that place.
That is more than 1 meal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so and it's pretty decent. I mean, so like the Taco Bell is still it's still kind of the king of if you want like heft for like 13 or 14 bucks. Because I found there's all these things on the value menu there that are just tolerably good. You
Because,
know,
okay,
when you get the crave going on.
you're absolutely right. The thing that okay, Taco Bell, the Taco Bell, there's a problem with it. I say it's not a problem. I know how they get you, right? So
Mhm.
they are very good at trying to get you to look away. Like they have a marquee menu, and
Right.
it is as bright and colorful and beautiful as Las Vegas itself. And then you have all the other food that you're going to get.
It's like in a corner.
It's correct.
Yeah, it's like if you had to
That is
turn the
correct.
page over, it would be on the kids menu. Yeah. So
And
it's like, would you like crayons with that?
it's
Yes.
well, they try to bully you
They
into it
come
when you
hot and
go by.
mild. Yeah.
Yeah, they come through. They do. Would you like to try one of our cantina fried, pineapple, whatever's?
Mm-mm.
And they'll try to bully you into it, right? But yeah, if you're there, if you look in the corner, you're gonna get the deal. You're gonna get a great
Totally.
deal.
Yeah, and so like they used to get me all the time on two items in particular.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one was, of course, the Crunchwrap Supreme, which
Yes.
is an excellent meal, but they're like $8. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And then you're like, well, that's enough for a meal, kind of. But I know I'm going to want something else. And so let me get a quesadilla. And that's another $5. So,
Right. And what is for those who are unaware, like my brother, for example, right? What goes into a Taco Bell quesadilla?
it's cheese, chicken, or beef, and like this Chipotle mayo. And that's it.
What does it go between?
Two flat tortillas. Oh, no, it's one giant tortilla that they fold in half. Yeah.
Right. And they cut it with a pizza cutter, right?
Right. Never evenly. I've never had one that was
Not even close. But
like one of them is always a strip,
I
and the other one's like a full Brooklyn slice.
you're right. And I think to that end, I think that's like I've come to appreciate it where you're like, well, this is like the testing strip. This looks like I got you.
Yes. Gotta make sure it's sharp.
Right. And so for how very uncomplicated it is with the ingredients that go into it, should it be one of the marquee expensive items?
No, absolutely not.
But it is.
But it is,
Uh-huh.
and but they got this other thing on there called a stacker.
That is correct.
That's like half the price and twice as much food. So, and it's got the same schmutz in it, except for you swap out chicken for hamburger. You know?
And does the presentation change?
Well, other than the fact that they put another fold in it and don't slice it, no.
So this is one of those cut it yourself and save kind of.
Well, no, it's a perfect size.
No,
It's like a
I agree.
giant hot
I
pocket.
agree.
You can
Yeah.
just eat it. Yeah,
That in itself is actually it's quite a meal. It's good.
it's very tasty.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But if you did feel like giving yourself the quesadilla experience, you could theoretically unfold it and cut it.
Or you could just fold it all together like
You
that
could
motherfucker.
you could
Yeah.
Papa Murphy's that fucker and just do the legwork to save.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll microwave it myself. Just give me the component ingredients.
Because you're not lying. I mean, that's the the Taco Bell stacker is sort of the hidden. It's the secret weapon of that value menu.
It's one of the hidden gems. Yeah.
Because I argue when you go to when you go to the Taco Bell, your strategy should be like this. Number one, you should have something. You should have like one kind of like marquee item. I don't mean expensive,
No.
right? But something that is maybe a little bit more to the pricier side.
That for me, that's the Gordita Crunch.
There we go.
Yeah, that thing's perfect.
You also need to have something that's going to put the weight on you.
That's the stacker.
value. That's the stacker.
That's the stacker.
Or here's the thing. There's one other thing that'll do it.
The beefy 5-layer every time.
Or if you want to really go to the bottom shelf, the bean burrito.
Oh, that's fine too. Yeah,
Absolutely
it's
fine.
like $1. Yeah.
It is like $1.
Yeah.
And when you're saying like, will you be full? It's like you'll be full till next week.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as long as you're getting like one of these things where it's like if you just fill up on marquee items, you're gonna be disappointed.
And it's gonna and then you're gonna complain about the price.
Right.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
and the Crunchwrap Supreme is the most guilty of that. The grilled
Correct.
cheese burrito is just as guilty of that. So it's got little like fucking Frito bits in it. That's it.
You're correct. I hate those things. I do. But that's
Well, you ever pull them out or like bite into it and they're all on one end? You realize how purple they are.
this is
It's
yeah.
like, this is not found in the wild like this.
You know, don't insult me. I know they're called Fiesta strips on the menu.
Oh yeah, they are.
It's just like get this crap out of here. Don't.
Hmm.
You can't swap it out and say like, could you keep the fucking like
The confetti.
yeah, keep the confetti, swipe $1 off of that, and just give it to me straight. But it's like no, this is part of them.
No.
These are structural. And then
I will every now and then go for the primo, most overrated item on the Taco Bell menu from time to time.
the Mexican pizza.
That's the one. You nailed it. Every now and then, you got it. I mean, you just got to go big. So
There is something about it that it's great. I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not fucking with it. It's just like you wouldn't get it 2 times in a row. You wouldn't.
no, and you never get two of them. Yeah,
No,
no.
no. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's quite tasty. It's good. Um, but you only need to get it that one time. You would not get it every time that you. This is what I get. I get this, and a Mexican pizza. It's like no, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't, because you look healthy. You don't. That's the thing. You don't eat these all the time, man.
Yeah, your coat is nice and shiny.
Right.
Not missing all these patches. Yeah.
Has your owner been feeding you like a raw egg?
What do you have all this dandruff on your butt?
Yeah, I like it too. But yeah, it's they're proud of it. They charge for it, and yeah, this would be like, hey, honey, I got a raise. Let's get some Mexican
Yeah,
pizzas.
we're going big
Yeah.
tonight.
Actually, now that would you say that pizzas del Mexicano would be?
Yeah, probably.
Is that how you'd say it in Spanish?
Pizza de Mexicano.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You wouldn't say of the Mexican. Yeah.
I know how I prefer to. I
Actually,
think
you just say pizza Mexicano.
right.
So, yeah.
Wait,
You don't have to have the day in there for a lot of things.
it, I feel like you used to.
It depends
I
on
feel
what you're
like the
talking about.
book would tell you that you do.
Day means from.
Right.
So, yeah. So it wouldn't be pizza from Mexico. It'd just be a Mexican pizza. Pizza Mexicano. Mexicano.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, because it's just an adjective.
It's just an adjective.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just an adjective. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. It's weird because yeah, if you say like you would say there are plenty of things that you would say like Plaza del Sol, Plaza of the
Oh, the
Sun,
sun? Yeah, okay.
but
Yeah.
you could easily say Sun Plaza.
Right.
You know what? I'm already like waist deep in one language before I go back and work on this other one, so I'll
Yeah.
leave it.
No, I think I'm on day like 90 something.
Good on you,
With,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Mexican, or the Mexican, the Espanol. And I'm kind of surprised how much I A, remember once
Right.
I see it.
Right.
And then B, it's like there's another piece of it that I don't realize because I don't have the Duolingo Max, and I try not to do more than one or two a day.
I don't
So,
think it'll stick if you do.
well, that's what I was doing in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then I hit like one of them checkpoints where like, here, check your test your knowledge, whatever,
Yeah.
and I'd completely fuck it up, and I'd be like, wait a minute,
Right.
you gotta just like, it's like swimming. You gotta do like 3 laps a day, and then you're good. You know?
You do, and you have to when you do it. This is if you can grab the book if you want to, but you have to like contextualize it too. You have to like associate it. You have to write out some sentences with it, to actually put that into a context where you remember to use it on a regular basis. I notice that's one of the particular flaws I've been noticing about these programs here is like it is good, and if you so Will is going like the full osmosis route, right? Which makes him a brilliant test case because it's like if you just do the program, it's like it's like just do the program, don't give it any second thought, just do as it says and see if it sinks in, right? Without giving any second layer of cognition. I'm like, okay, this is a good way to test it. But as far as making this stuff stick, I have been finding that you have to study the words, you have to look at the sentences, break down the sentences, explain why the sentence is what it is, right? Now, in Spanish, it's a little bit different story.
It's a little bit easier. Yeah.
Spanish is kind of efficient in some ways.
It's very efficient.
Yeah.
Your adjectives always come behind the subject. So, once you kind of get the pattern down, it's like, okay. And then at that point in time, it just becomes vocab. Because there's not that many operators in Spanish. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
They don't even have like a who's who. It's not even like a big nasty list of irregular verbs.
Oh no, it's like 5 that you use. You know, yeah. So, and they're so common that it just becomes second nature after a little bit. It's not at all like English where there's 9 different conjugations of is. I know. It's not even remotely like that. And so once you get used to it, it's like, oh, okay, so this is being described by this, and it's like Bob did this well, it's like, okay, I got it. It's pretty straightforward. Now, programming that's one where I'm going the Will route. Because I am at a point in time now where I get about half the fucking lessons wrong. So, and it really takes a lot of I have to scrape out a little bit of time to look at it and think about it. It is not coming to me naturally, man. So if I can just get past the lesson, it's like, oh, thank God.
It feels good though.
I guess, man. It feels like it feels exhausting. So, but not in a good way for me. I get frustrated quickly with it, and it's like, why are you making me do this? I just did this, but then it's like, okay, I think I get it, fucker, So, but like the program that I'm using Brilliant, for that.
Okay.
It's fine,
right?
But you don't actually type that much code in it. It's all multiple choice. So, so you have to look at it really carefully. You can't just like type it in and, oh, it doesn't work. And then it tells you why it doesn't work.
Right.
It's like, of these, what will given this set of conditions, what will your return value be? And so you literally have to sit there and to plug in this number here, and this means this, and it's going to go into this loop, and then it's going to come out like this. If it's this, but else it'll be this. And so it's kind of a struggle, man.
It sounds like it'd almost be easier for them just to ask an open-ended question and have you write it.
Sometimes it does that, but what it does is it forces you to kind of learn what it's doing. So not how to do it. So
that is good. Well,
I guess but like I said, it's frustrating, man. So
Patrick, here's the weird thing: as a former educator and you as a current one, it is sometimes helpful to occasionally walk in the shoes of students that are struggling to understand. Because you know what it is. Look, we come from the same classes. We do. We voluntarily stepped out of certain classes because we're like, I have emotional problems or whatever. Like I am too. It's just kind of like, are you sure you can't do like this kind of math? And I'd say like, I think I'm tapped out. Like really, there's a part of like, I don't want to try as hard anymore because I have feelings. And but it wasn't like I was sitting in that office and they're like, kid, you're not really that smart, are you?
Nobody said that.
It's like, well, I was born next to the lead factory. It wasn't
Mark.
Nobody told me I'm not supposed to eat that until I was 14. So they never looked at us like slow kids. They're like, we get you.
Right.
Like you look like you're kind of leaning towards art school now. You wanna you wanna misapply all that good knowledge into something.
Useless.
So that is what it is. But to go through something, you're like, fuck, I get it, but this takes work.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that those platitudes that I keep saying to students, like, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah,
But I've kept up with that too.
yeah,
So that one, those are the
that's
ones where I
good.
burn my streak charges though. So I'm like,
Well,
nah, not tonight. Click. It's like you got two left. It's like I know.
right, right.
So that one I'm up to like I don't know. I'd have to look. I think I'm well over 100 on that one now. Uh, but
That's cool.
that one has been a bit of a slog, and then just learning Python. So like Python itself and the actual operators in it and stuff. I mean, there's a whole library of commands in it. We haven't even touched. But just like some of the basic stuff. Now when I like play a game, I'm like, this would be hard to do.
Yeah, this is the you say this, but there's the game that's changing everything right now was programmed by exactly one man.
What's that?
That's the Schedule One game.
Oh, I almost got that this weekend, but I actually decided to hold off and I fired up Skylines too.
A two?
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
Did you go? Do you know something I don't?
So there was a bunch of updates since I've tried it last time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't played it more than maybe about 2 hours. So yeah.
All right.
I literally did that before I started making tacos today.
Huh.
So yeah.
All right.
So it's kind of like, all right, let's give this guy a stab. So I think that'll consume my time for the next couple of weeks. But yes, I've seen all the YouTube shit on Schedule One. Like half the YouTube gamers that I watch are now fucking playing it. So
Well, it's just it's making the point that we've talked about here is the the tools and everything that's coming together is getting much closer to one person's vision, right? It's totally crushing the entire, like
it
it
is.
is
Yeah.
demolishing the professional industry as is the by committee industry, and I think we may be actually getting to a purer, like, we're going back to the old days, bro.
We are going back to the
I
old
think we
days.
are.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
We're going back to like 3-man studios and stuff like that.
yes.
And, I mean, especially games like that, I mean, the art style in that game and everything that's in it is basically, you can pull almost all of the fucking assets off the Unreal Store, kind of thing. So, and I mean, and so when I was playing around with Unreal for a
Yeah,
bit, it's
yeah.
not that hard. Um, it's easy to paint yourself into a corner on it where you're like, I don't know what I fucking did. And that's why I was like, well, I'm going to actually back out of this and I'm going to go learn programming a little bit first,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
so at least understand how to like diagnose my problems and shit. Um, but like the actual thing, like all the logic in Unreal is basically there's this like behind the scenes flow chart that you can build with just lines and with nodules and
Right,
yeah,
right.
nodes and um, connections between them and stuff like that. But um, and there's a shitload of off the shelf. Like, I mean, the game comes with basically a single player, third person omniscient avatar that you can use, and it's got shitloads of animations and stuff like that already plugged into it,
Right.
So, you could slap together a game pretty quick, using that, but then actually making it interesting is kind of the hard part. So, you know,
Well, does it have what's in place to basically get a simple idea from a person? It's basically the question is how many steps before would it take for a person to have an idea, and basically go from idea to the pencil going into game, right? So
pretty
back,
quick.
this is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's like back before when it used to like coding used to be a little bit more different in terms of
Hmm.
how many steps does it take to get from here to here, right? And it sounds like that's a little bit easier now.
That is a little bit easier. The thing that's hard to do is because when you run into a barrier in like Unreal, it's pretty fucking steep if you don't know what you're doing, you know? And
Right,
so, I mean, if you
right.
have a really simple game, like, like a top-down vampire game or something like that,
Sure.
that's not that hard. Okay, then it's a question of, well, do you want to make your own art? Do you want to use, stuff from the store? What kind of things do you want? I mean, that's not too bad.
Right.
Um, or even like a really like one of the programs that I was working on, it was going to have me build a 3D shooter. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. But I noped out on that because I kept finding things that I was like, I don't understand what's going on here.
Right.
So, stop telling me to do something without explaining why, why does this work, kind of thing. And so that's why I decided to back it out a little bit because I know that the artwork isn't going to be my thing.
Mm.
So, but if you did something pretty simple, like I saw this one guy that basically made kind of a neat game in Unreal in about half an hour. So, and it was just this game where it was first person and you were a Viking, okay, in
Okay.
it, and you had a big ass axe, and there was a snowstorm all around you, and you'd run in any direction. It didn't matter because there was no map,
Okay.
okay, and so there's just snow going everywhere. But then there would be like audio cues about enemies that were coming towards
Oh,
you, and so you
okay.
had to turn and face them and fight them. So it was like a vampire top down, but it was in first person, and he made this in like half an hour. It looked great. So it looked really cool. So, and it was like, oh, that's neat. But that's a very simple idea. Does that make sense? So if you turn around and you try and do anything more complicated, and now that I look at games like Fallout, it's like, fuck that. Because you make a shitload of content that someone's going to see once when they play the
That's
game. Yeah.
that's sort of the thing. Well, because this is the part that he's got down there is basically, if you think about it, the the snow killing, right, is going to be the heart of your gameplay loop, right?
Exactly. It's like, don't get mobbed. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, yeah.
Whereas, like the things like this is where Fallout comes into it. It's like, all right, so if this is the cornerstone of the gameplay loop, right? You can talk about like the role playing elements. It's not. It's the walk around and shoot things, right?
Right. You get it right down to its basic game pillar. Yeah. There you go.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And you say, okay, so well, and this is where I think a lot of games get it wrong. Is like, well, if you're going to be doing this the most, this should be fun,
It should be really fun. Yeah.
and sometimes it's not.
Oh no, Lord, no. I mean, sometimes, yeah, there's great games out there that have really good premise and stuff like that. But the thing that you spend most of your time doing fucking sucks. So
Right,
yeah,
right,
you know,
right.
I've seen a lot of games that suffer from that. So particularly like simulator games and things, where it's just like even okay, so Microsoft Flight Simulator is kind of a different thing. But think about it. What did you spend most of your time doing in that game?
Navigating menus.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's
right.
not really the core gameplay here,
Look,
you know.
to
So,
its credit, I'm like, the thing says is like, look, this is a flight simulator.
Mhm.
And so that includes like their version of basically like paperwork and prep and stuff like that. I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, this is true.
Right.
The difficult thing here is like if you go to like 80% of the people that want to play this, let me turn that up. 85, 90, 95% of the
Yeah.
people that
Right.
play this, what do they want to do?
Fly.
Why would you get the impression that you'd be flying in this game?
Yeah. Exactly.
Is it in the
Yeah.
title?
Yes.
Okay, so
As a matter of fact, it's the first word of the title.
so if your point is like, all right, so I do want to create something here where the minutia of it is important. I
Mhm.
want you to understand what it is that pilots actually go through,
Mhm.
especially if you're interested in this. But since 95% of you want to fly,
Mhm.
there needs to be a button that says, I want to fly now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. So I mean, and yeah. So that I mean, that game's like, all right. So fine, it's an actual sim. So in a
right.
game that's a straight up sim, will get my respect because it's like, all right. So yeah, a lot of flying is boring. So got it. All right. This thing doesn't have guns on it. You're not flying the Death Star
Right.
trench.
right,
on this thing,
right.
okay? But my windshield is starting to ice up. I'm gonna fucking die. That's a real thing,
What do I do? Breathe on it, I guess. I don't.
Yeah. So yeah, no.
So on the flip side, I think the games that are sort of that are maybe a little bit better at walking that balance between like arcade and simulation, depending on your
Mhm.
preferences. I think those like Euro Truck Simulator and stuff like that. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they have a little bit more flexibility into that. Where
They also have a little charm to them. So yeah,
yes,
that's quite a bit different, man. I mean, I play a game that's kind of a Euros. It's not truck simulator, it's train simulator.
right, right,
But it's kind of like that, man. It's just got enough goofy little shit in it that it's kind of like, okay, and then like unlike, it being like Euro Truck Simulator where you can do it for realsies and actually drive the
yes,
18 hours it takes to get across France, you know, um, or whatever.
right.
There's a lot of things that you can jump and skip and stuff like that there. It's fine.
I mean, there are parts of it that I think are pretty funny, within that where you do use these real environments. I remember when fucking Takanashi Kiara almost fucking doxed herself by saying like, "I used to go to that school."
Oh yeah,
Like,
nice.
yeah, like, oh,
Oh, oops. I just flew over my house.
right,
Yeah.
because they're using these real world assets, which actually I do really approve of. I think that's super cool in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator did that beautifully just by integrating Bing Maps into
Yeah,
it. It was like, okay, I can fly over our town. There's my house. There's
yeah.
Jeff's house.
And of course, as you're doing this, you're like, oh, that's right. This is a commercial plane. There are no explosives on board.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, how do I dump the blue ice on Jeff's
Right.
house?
Yeah. Let me fly the prop duster here. I'm gonna kill its trees. But yeah, I mean that's a different kind of game. So
Yeah,
now I personally I kind of lean towards simulation like games because even like Skylines is like a simulator in a lot of respects. Um,
right. Minus the like, you don't have to run for mayor.
right, minus that part. It's not
It's
comprehensive. It picks what it chooses to model.
like you don't
So
have to fundraise. You don't have
yeah,
to.
don't have to pour over zoning maps. Don't have to get sued. Yeah.
You see, what's interesting is that those elements would be fun in a game that had nothing to do with city building.
Sure, a politician simulator.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I've always thought that would be cool in a war game where you actually do more general stuff rather than just moving dudes around on a map. So,
That would be
like,
crazy.
you actually have to go
That's,
punish people.
what what year is this set in?
Well, I don't know. You could set it anywhere. It's like this man deserted from your regiment and get Bull Run. It's like hang him.
Right. Yeah, no blindfolds. No.
No,
No.
cigar.
Right.
Cigarette. No.
Okay, so I'm gonna get that. I'm also I'm also going to understand why when you drive by other people's tombstones in the
Mm,
Oregon Trail,
right.
sometimes people would write pepperoni and cheese as the
Yeah, yeah,
name,
it would. Yep, yep, yep. Extra sausage. Yeah.
and I laughed every time.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
This is one of those very much you had to be there kind of moment. Why
Mhm.
is this funny? Well,
I saw a really cool video maybe like a couple months ago on the guy who created that.
Tombstone Pizza
No,
or the
no, the,
ads?
the Oregon Trail.
Oh,
And
oh,
then how like it was originally a paper-based game that he had made for a class because the guy was a history teacher.
oh!
So yeah, and
I
then
can easily see that now.
right, but then he realized that he could just do it as a text adventure. So the original one didn't have any graphics. It was 100% just text generated
Oh,
based upon flowchart logic.
okay.
So yeah, and it even had a thing where you were doing the hunting, and it said aim left, aim right. You know?
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, and you had to type in fire in order to shoot. And so you had to type it in real fast. So,
Yeah. Okay. I
yeah, it was kind
respect
of
that.
neat.
And you know what's funny is the roots of that are still clearly in the game, where you're
Oh, sure.
like how much of that game is basically uh is just overlay.
Oh,
I mean, it's
almost all
just
of it. Yeah.
I mean, aside from like when you control the at the end when you go down the river and
Oh, yeah.
use the cursor keys to move
Yep.
the thing, I can't think of much else that's there that
No, all you're doing is spinning and shooting.
yeah.
So the rest
Oh,
of it's just
the shooting
text.
game.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
The rest of it's just text overlay. So.
Which in later versions, they changed the way that you used to hunt that game.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, there's a little bit more. A little bit. Only you were stationary.
Oh, okay.
Right, you were stationary, and like as the turkeys and fucking Indians walk by,
This was like Duck
you
Hunt.
kind of,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Only, yeah, your gun is stationary. You're waiting for things to walk into the reticle, and then yeah,
Okay.
you shoot buffalo and Frenchmen and whatever.
Yeah. Suck the blue.
We're gonna eat it like this. No, you gotta boil it first.
Get all the frog out of it.
Dad, I think I don't feel right
I
about
know
this.
you're right about this.
It's just thrown in there. Don't tell anybody about this, okay?
Right.
Right.
It'll all break down.
What God doesn't see, God doesn't know. Um, yeah, it is. It is a brilliant game if you think about it,
Oh yeah.
especially coming from. I didn't know it was from a history teacher. I thought. I
It's
mean, it
from a
makes
history
perfect sense.
teacher and it was actually owned by like the Minnesota Public Schools.
Well, that's the MECC.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where that comes from.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he talked about it how like the people came to them all the time trying to buy off of them and stuff like that. And then finally, I think Sierra did buy it off of them or
that's
something
when it
like
got
that.
weird.
And that's when it started getting weird. And so people were always trying to get the old version back. So
Yep.
it was kind of a neat interview. I mean, there's like all these, like game autopsy things on GDC.
Oh, okay.
That they've got a whole bunch of old games on there where they kind of go through the creation of it, and it's usually done by one of the guys. Like they had John Romero do Doom,
Oh, okay.
and then they had Sid Meier do Civ, and he was there with Bruce Shelley.
I would really like to watch these. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're on YouTube, man. They're not hard to find. But and then there's a lot of other games that you just kind of remember, like Metroid's on there, and then the guys who did um uh um what the fuck is that game?
What are you doing it?
Um, oh man, what the hell was it? Everybody played that game.
Like what era? What was
It
it
was
on?
like
Was it PC or?
2000, Deus Ex. There we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
so
okay, yeah.
those guys, sorry, man. I could see the guy.
You know, that is
Yeah.
Warren Spector? No.
No.
Who's the guy that did that?
I don't remember. They had Tim Kaine, the guy who created Fallout. He did all that.
Yes.
They
Yes.
had um, the Half-Life guys. Uh,
Mhm.
Doom. Well, I already said that one. There was a couple others on there that were actually pretty cool. They're kind of fun to watch. The Monkey Island guys were on there. So,
The original ones?
yeah, actually one of them was. So it was like a panel. So, um, so it's not always just one guy. Sometimes it's like several people. They had the Ultima Online guys on there. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they had those
Okay.
guys on
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
So they talked about how like when they actually killed Lord British,
It's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in
it
my
was
life.
actually a glitch. So and it was actually he picked up the wrong gear or something like that because he actually had this like super invulnerability gear or something like that, and he just had the wrong thing equipped at the time and got fucking knifed. Well,
No, he got
he got
exploded.
exploded. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's
Yeah.
it's
And so they actually had an internal debate about whether or not they were going to undo it. And they said, nope, it's
got
the
me.
way it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. So the Diablo one was fascinating. So,
Really? Why?
so originally Diablo was 100% turn based. So, and it was all supposed to be
Okay.
like real
Right.
quick, like, a couple second turns, kind of thing. But then Command and Conquer had come out in Warcraft 2, which was the other part of Blizzard at that time, was really, really popular. And
Yeah.
so the Blizzard guys, the mothership of Blizzard, whatever,
What was it? It was like Blizzard North and
North,
Blizzard. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So the mothership was like, hey, really pushing this guy to do, a 3D game. So, but he's like, no, fuck that, because he was a D&D dude,
Right.
and it's like, it's not that kind of game. It's a rogue like blah, 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 whatever. Okay, but it's, he like really appreciated the slowdown of the turn-based shit and stuff like that.
Right.
And then, so finally, he was just like, all right, fine, I'll try it. And in like 35 minutes of programming, he was basically able to like speed up the clocks, the ticks on it.
Yeah.
So then it just skipped, so many turns after you give it like a command. And then rather than that command being what you did next, it was what you did like 6 ticks later or something like that.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
he had the warrior up and he just clicked on a bad dude and he walked over there and smacked him with the sword. And he was like, fuck, I get to run it. Because it
And
was that
history was
cool.
made.
History was
It's weird. Like one of the stories I loved was when uh, when Capcom Japan was working on the Darkstalker series. They call it Vampire in
made.
Japan, and this is the concept is genius, right?
Hmm.
So you're coming off of you have like the hit fighting game. You're like, how do we branch out into this? And their next step was like, why don't we do a version of this where the combatants are universal monsters,
Oh, okay.
right? And one thing is absolutely true and always will be true is that animators are pervs, right? It's absolutely now. Here's the thing: is this is one of the rare things where they were talking like to the United States branch, especially because a lot of those monsters originate here, and they came up with these great ideas. And again, it was supposed to be like vampire based, so it's like we got the one of the main characters is a vampire, and then we'll have like a zombie character, a mummy, all these other kind of things, all done through this just genius, brilliant, um, animation team, like just unrivaled in terms of like 2D animation for fighting games. And then they're talking to the American branch, and at first they're like, well, we want to include a female vampire, and they're talking. This is like 1994, so this is before the
Sure, sure.
internet, right? And they're talking to this dude from Capcom USA who they didn't develop it, but they had some input, and they're like, what about if you did a succubus?
Mhm.
And the I guess they had this on conference call, right? And they're like, succubus, what's that? And so the guy explains it to the Japanese. He's like, well, it's the opposite of an incubus. So this is a female, ghost type creature that steals your energy through sex as you sleep. And evidently the room like exploded. They're like, that's way better than what we were thinking. Like, this is awesome. And this ends up being like the flagship character of the series,
Right, right,
right?
right.
They're like, there's so much we can do with that, and they absolutely did. And that's the kind of stuff I'm like, yeah, just small things, just like you're talking about, like
Mm,
click to whack ends up changing
right,
an
yeah.
entire
Changing the
genre.
entire fucking genre.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And it's the
yeah.
same kind of thing. Like, you ever think about like including a sex ghost, and it
Right.
ends up being basically the biggest like character in history? I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, this is crazy. I'll bet you, man, I've got to watch it. That sounds great. There's so
There's a
much.
bunch of them on there. So they do at least one or two every year. And so they go back like 20 years now. And so there's tons of games on there, all of which you would recognize, all of them. So,
Well, to be fair, do you think that there are some games in the pantheon that get way more love than they actually deserve?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends on like what you prefer. on some of those things, but like me personally, I think Half-Life gets too much credit. So
I agree. I
yeah,
think Half-Life's bigger contribution is being the engine that Counter-Strike is based off of.
exactly. And so Counter-Strike and even, all of its spin-offs over the years, or even like Team Fortress was way more influential than, at least in my mind, than Half-Life was.
And it was fine. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
It's
no,
because
Half-Life was a fun game, man. But I mean, it didn't really do anything that was too terribly different than Doom, or Quake at that point in time, because it had actually had what, the 3D movement a long time,
yeah, it
or the
did.
3D aimer for a long time,
Right.
mouse look. Um, so I mean, that would definitely be one. Personally, I think EverQuest is a little bit overrated. So it was there right when Lord of the, or not Lord,
Ultima.
Ultima
Yeah.
Online was going on. Well, it was a little bit. I think it was a little bit after that one.
A little bit afterwards.
Not
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Not much. They were basically there, and EverQuest figured out a lot of things that eventually got baked into games like WoW.
Right.
So,
Right.
which is a remarkably simple game. There's a whole one on there about WoW. Once you think about it, it's basically a dance game. So you just don't stand on this, or you do stand on this. you know. So it's remarkably simple in terms of its concept, but it was also when the Wild guys were talking about their game, they were like, we had some very basic things, and we'd all played the other games, and so latency was a huge thing.
Sure.
And so this is
Sure.
what led us to develop this art style, and this is what didn't let us to develop, the way that different servers worked and stuff like that. And then, I was also talking about quest progression and how simple it really needed to be. It didn't need to
Right.
be near as complicated as what EverQuest was. So, and then on top of it, it said, you should be able to solo it, which you couldn't do in a lot of those other games.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then so it's just like really taking, like a lot of the things that other people already figured out, and it's just basically stripping them down to, like what is it that actually works and makes this shit fun, And so it was just good design. So I don't think that
That's
one's
incredibly
overrated.
challenging, man. I mean,
Can
that.
be, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
can be.
Hey, dude, there are
Yeah.
people that still say that it still hasn't been matched.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's still got a humongous player base.
I mean, that's part
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
So, and I mean, look at it's like some of the other things that Blizzard's done since then. I mean, it's like Overwatch. Okay, it's fine as a shooter goes. They deleted the first one and made you buy the second one. So
Yeah. There's some like there's some controversy on that,
I know
man,
there. Yeah,
where yeah, they're like, so here's what we told everybody the second game was going to be, and then it's not.
no,
It's
it's
like
not.
actually it's the first one again.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
like that's it.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
all it is.
yeah. It's just got slightly different levels and new character scans.
Right.
Yeah. I never played the second one. I played a lot of the first one for a while my brother was on it.
Nothing
So,
wrong with it.
oh,
It's
it's a fine
just
game.
it's
Yeah, it's. I don't know, man. I mean, like, I think out of all the shooters that I played, the one that I probably enjoyed the most is probably Quake 2. So, yeah. I mean, we played a shitload of Quake 3.
we did. Are you talking about basically like competitive shooters?
Yeah.
Um.
Well, I mean,
uh,
Halo's up there too.
yeah, that's the thing. There's that, and I'll also say that I've really used to get a kick out of the co-op modes in those as well. I think
Oh, and Halo?
that's
Yeah, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
fantastic.
Which is why sometime
I spent a whole week trying to beat
yeah,
that. We finally did it, man.
I'll tell you what. At some point, I think you and I will walk the Space Marine path together,
We might, yeah.
and enjoy it. But that's kind of where I am with these games. Is I'm well aware that
Well, you can play Schedule 1 co-op, can't you?
I think you can.
That might be kind of fun, actually.
I mean,
That actually might be kind of
it's so
fun.
again. This is something. It's I have so much respect for what the game is doing and what it's demonstrated because I mean this comes right on the heels. I love this that it comes right on the heels of the um, Assassin's Creed Shadows debacle that
Oh yeah,
that shows like this is what happens when your studio gets bloated and you have basically a cushion layer of fucking Karens that are overseeing every last aspect of this in terms of like what will these audiences like, and then here are the investors on the other side, and here's like, no man,
It's just too
is
much.
the game good or not? Is
Yeah.
it and when you come down to it, when you go back to the Snowfield Viking game, right?
What?
Like you were talking about that Viking in the snow,
Oh
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
when you come down to it, like, all right, well, so this is an assassination game. It's like, why do you have all this other superfluous bullshit in here, right?
All right, get down to the nuts and bolts of what makes it
Right,
fun. Yeah.
right.
I mean, I don't know, man. There's been some games that really nail their like that just that core gameplay loop down. That just those are the ones that I find myself going back and
Right.
saying like, "Yeah, man, I want to play this for a little bit." I
Absolutely.
might not beat it again or anything like that, but it's kind of fun.
And sometimes they're intertwined. Like I would argue, and like the thing about something like Valheim is, I say, what is the
Mm,
core gameplay loop? Like, is it the warrior chopping, or is it the like base building? And
mm,
I don't think you can divorce them from each other. I think
mm.
that's what makes it work.
No, you got variety, but like so it's a loop nested within multiple loops because every time you go to a new biome, you got new shit that you got to do. So
Right, and it's something where yes, you can do it on your own, and I did, but the added the fun of it really starts to ramp up if you have more people
it does.
contributing to this. And like, it's a perfectly rewarding single player experience,
Hmm.
but it's like you can invite. It's like this is great.
That's a hard thing to do too.
Fuck yeah, it's
I've only
hard.
seen a couple games do that. Probably Valheim doing it the best,
I
at least in the last few years.
I would argue for some people like the real. I don't want to say the real. So two other games I think really do that well: Minecraft and
Oh yeah,
Rust.
I never played Rust, so
It's next to like Eve Online. It's like by libertarians for
poor
libertarians.
libertarians. Yeah, so it's not for me. I get it. Yeah. No, my brother played Eve for a while, so
It's
it's still out there, man.
it is it has its player base. It does what it does. It is an ugly world to live in.
Yeah.
It is full of promise and full of crooks and full of a world that gives you the opportunity to be just as shitty as you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Or like, you go there. I saw people that really enjoyed it being a person trying to navigate this shitty universe, right? You
I
know?
followed a few guys who were doing that for a bit. So mostly in print, not so much on
Right,
YouTube, but
right.
some of those are kind of interesting. I got sucked into a rabbit hole, and it was on one of the games journals, years ago.
Yeah.
But it explained this like great, fucking mercant war,
Yes.
that had actually occurred. I was like, that sounds really neat to actually watch, but I'll take the 5-page article over spending
Absolutely.
$100,000 of
Yes.
my actual real money,
Reporting this. Yes,
yes, exactly,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
That's see that's the thing is there's two parts of games journalism, right? And they could revive it. I was thinking about this the other day because there's been it's been falling apart, rightly falling apart. But then I realized that there's two parts of games journalism that if they focused on would actually be valuable, right? And if they so starters, if you took the access journalism point and basically hanged all these people as traitors, right? This it's got to happen. This is one of those things where sorry man, the old regime has to go in order for us to feel safe with this.
Yeah,
But if they got back to it and they did a little bit more of what like the legitimate like previewing used to be back in the day, right? You'd have that. But then the second thing is exactly what you talked about right there.
yeah. I
Is
like the AARs. I think would be better. So the after action reports,
in some
because
ways,
quite
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
YouTube is basically taking over
Of
previews.
course,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
I use it almost exclusively now when I'm checking something out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Either that, I'm just going to go on Twitch and watch somebody play it for about
Bingo.
25
Yeah.
minutes and see
Yeah.
like would I enjoy this? There have been plenty of times where I've read about a game that looks cool, then watched it played and
Hmm.
said, "This is
Absolute
absolutely not
garbage. Yeah,
for me."
yes, this is absolute hot fucking garbage. Yeah.
Because as of right now, if I just looked at what was typed, evidently I'd be the world's biggest Balatro or Pal World fan on the planet.
Hmm.
And having seen them play them, like there's nothing wrong with them, but they're not for me.
They're not for me.
Right.
Yeah. Nope.
Right.
Yep. Totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've seen that with a bunch of games.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's right up my alley, and then go watch like 15 minutes of like, nope. Nope.
But then
Don't want to play this.
there's other components of it where if you read about like these events or like the subcultures like we're talking about, like I'm
That's kind
sure
of neat.
did you ever ask your brother about like the was he there for the World of Warcraft disease that killed almost everyone?
It's possible. I've never
Okay.
really asked him. I mean, he was on the beta for that,
Right.
and
Okay.
he
Yeah.
still plays it.
Right.
So
Yeah, that was the famous incident where I can't remember all the mechanics of it, but there was like a boss that had this like timer countdown like death thing. Like he cast a spell on you that you would die in this amount of time.
Mhm.
And they didn't they didn't set the limit so it would persist if you left the dungeon. So
oh,
when guys were getting killed with this, right?
go back into town and spread the COVID.
And it was transmissible, like it was proximity based,
Oh Lord.
but you didn't know you had it.
Oh.
So a couple of dudes teleported out because they were getting like wiped, went into town to like restock up, infected everyone. Everyone wandered to all these other places,
Right.
and people just like towns started dropping these scads, and they're like, we don't even know what's
We
happening.
don't even know what's going on. Yeah.
But like the entire population was just dying of this unknown illness. Like this is genius.
Yeah, I could ask him about it. I'll probably see him tomorrow. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll ask him. I don't know. He's told me a couple things over the years, just but you got to catch him in the right mood for to talk about WoW
Hmm.
stuff. I mean, I don't know. I never played that many MMOs, so I'm not too steeped in the lore of any of them, to tell you the truth.
Well, Patrick, we're just not good MMO material.
I am definitely not.
We're not.
So I am terrible at it. I learned even the last couple that I played. I'd say the last one that I played extensively was probably Sea of Thieves, and that doesn't even really count. You know,
Only in the sense that there were multiple people playing it.
yeah, and
That's
you
it.
just learn real quick
Yeah.
that people are fucking dangerous, and so you learn to avoid them. And then after you play it a little bit, you get dangerous.
Right.
So, and then
Right.
you start going bad places, man.
Right.
It's just like, nah, this is not my kind of thing. If I want to play a PvP game, we'll fire up fucking Call of Duty, So there's no questions asked.
That was funny. I can't remember who said it, but that was um when they were describing that they were like because they wanted to play PvE games. They said like, no, I don't do that. It's like I do my turn-based PvP on Twitter.
Right.
I
Yeah,
was,
yeah. That's pretty good.
I was like, that's genius.
Yeah. Turn-based PvP. That's funny. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're absolutely right. Um, but yeah, it's that's I seeing the actual just like the creativity like just like pop out of the ground organically like that really warmed my heart, man. It was one of those moments where you and I have seen this industry like change and evolve and sine wave so many times where we're
Yeah.
like it's dead, it's alive, it's dead, it's a revolution, the revolution is over. um,
Oh yeah, at least 4 or 5 different waves of it now, man.
we've
So.
lived to see all of our favorite studios get turned over by schmucks and
Mhm.
like shit on every last IP that we thought was great and
Well, except maybe not Rockstar yet. We'll see how the next one turns out. So
it'll be the last of its kind.
I agree. It's just
It's
too
the swan
expensive.
song for it.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
it's too expensive. Now, to be fair, I've seen some stuff on it. It looks great. So, but it is definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to give me some couch here, man. So, I'm sorry, my butt is right on the edge. My tailbone's about to fall asleep here.
I gotta tell you though, I mean, There is no greater sign of joy in terms of like love and respect that a dog can give you, other than like cuddling up to you like this. So I mean, you they can read your personalities, Patrick.
It's
She
fine.
knows that you're
Yeah,
like a good person, so
it's just uncomfortable.
she knows.
I know.
Right.
But yeah, and it'll change, it'll evolve a little bit. And I mean, a lot of the tools to make games are, and the barriers to entry are kind of like movies now. You
Right.
know, I was
Right.
actually talking to a student last week. She really wants to go make movies. I was like, "What's stopping you? You
Great
know,
question.
what's stopping you? You got an iPhone,
Yeah.
get to it." You know, I mean, okay, maybe that's not the exact movie you want to make right now, but you can put something up on YouTube next week, and if it's great and it goes viral, then you're one step closer to that movie that you do want to make.
Give you plenty of examples where it's happened. Yeah.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to YouTubers that I watch. So, you know.
There are traditional directors that are out there making iPhone, movies
Hmm.
for the purpose of proving it can be done. Steven Soderbergh is doing that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, very talented guy. But yeah, or again, if you want to get into it, like the other thing is like, all right, so then what do you like? Look into it then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's
Just
going to
start.
take to get there? You know, but some of it's just, I want this right now. And it's like, yeah, I get that. You know, I wish I could design AAA games today.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
But I'm certainly not going to be able to do that tomorrow if I don't work on it a little bit today. So there you go.
It's correct.
Yeah.
Same thing goes with learning that god awful moon language. Like
All
I
right.
can't. I can't just put my hand on the book and
Learn it by osmosis.
yeah.
Yes.
And I cast a spell and it just soaks
Oh,
into me. And
konnichiwa. You know.
it's just, and that's the thing is you have to look through the pieces of it. Like the, I will say it has been worthwhile to do essentially the reverse engineering lesson
Mhm.
of this year. Is like this has been incredibly useful because I've been able to. I've looked at like traditional lessons with this, and man, does it take a long time to get anywhere, and they do not teach you in a way that really jives. I mean, I'm not.
Mm-mm.
If you were to look at it now, Patrick, so the way that we learn Spanish in Senora Hibbert's class.
Not how you would do it today.
Here's my question: why, what were they doing wrong? Well, I don't want to say wrong, but what?
Nothing, man. They were just constrained by their actual capabilities at the time.
Right,
You know, and I mean, if you have a classroom with 30 people, that's a different methodology than me and my phone.
right,
So
right.
I mean, they're like fucking dead forests out there written on the efficacy of one-on-one tutoring as a way to learn things.
Right.
And
Right.
it's absolutely true. And it's good for hard skills like that, where, I mean, especially now that you can actually speak, and it can listen to you and
Right.
critique you, sort of, you know. And you can't really do that in a classroom with 30 people. And so what they were trying to do back then was when you're trying to learn Spanish, they would teach you how to read Spanish first, you know. Right.
Right.
So and it was about vocab and, road memorization and stuff like that. Which I don't hold that against them. I mean, that's fine. But now,
There
like,
is a part of it that does count.
well, yeah, and I mean, you can't do like what the State Department does and do full immersion learning,
Right.
with 30 kids. It's not even remotely feasible. So, okay, fine.
Right.
Because they're going to walk out of your room and start speaking English again.
They will, and you're
Yeah,
right. I can't just like grab you and say like, "What are you doing?" It's like, well, you were going to spend 1 year in downtown Kowloon.
right. Yeah, exactly. No, can't do that, man. So, so it's fine. But that's one thing that does help. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a space for, traditional classroom learning. In
Right.
fact, I think a lot of that's actually coming back now.
Absolutely.
It's starting to
Yeah.
swing back a little bit, man, just because, fucking online learning is a joke. Um, at least as far as classes goes, we just uncovered it. Like out in California, there's a huge scam going on. And I guarantee you, I'm going to see an email in my box about this over the next 2, 3 days.
Do tell. What's the scam?
There's all these guys that signed up for classes with the University of California Community College. University of California system is an excellent system because it's all integrated, and so if you have a community college, it's actually part of that University of California system.
Oh,
Okay? It's
okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
It's really well
Yeah.
done. Much to their credit. But
We have a baby version of that here, don't
We
we?
can well, yeah, we don't have near as many schools,
Right,
so
right,
they have the full thing.
right.
With several universities that lead into R1 universities that all stem from local community colleges. So, but anyway, and it's integrated curriculum, course numbering, all that stuff.
Right.
So it's really easy peasy. But they had a shitload of people who are just ghosts, ghosty peoples who had signed up. Basically, they're bot students.
What?
Yeah, and so they would make discussion posts and they would email teachers, and these are all fucking AI generated students, and they would do it to suck down federal financial aid. I'm
No.
dead serious, man. And so I just saw that yesterday. I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get an email about this week because I was sitting there looking at some of my classes today. I was like, oh, I bet you're a bot.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, really. Because I guarantee you, man, there's some students in there who, I mean, it's so hard for me now to tell whether or not they're using AI to do certain things.
Yeah.
That going back to the, show your ID and fucking show up to class thing is going to be a thing. So it's going to be a thing. Yeah. And you know what? Like two of the online classes that I teach, it has proctored tests. Okay, so we actually do that through a remote proctor where you have to turn on your cam and show your
Yeah.
ID and shit.
Yeah.
And so I was going back and looking. I see there's a lot of students that done all the work except for that. So
Really?
yeah, and I was going back and looking through some of their assignments. I was like, this is a very clean paper. So I'm curious, man. I'm
This
curious.
is wild.
It is wild, but it's an easy, obvious scam if you think about it. So
Well, okay.
that you couldn't pull off like 3 years ago before ChatGPT.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, but the thing is, like, it's one of those scams that is like genius for a short period of
The
time.
people who thought of it first. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think this is necessarily going to have the same legs as like the Nigerian prince or the lottery scam,
No, 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 no.
but that is
Report to your local constabulary.
the evolution on that. I think that's genius. Just in terms of the person like, all right, so I got it to do this, and they're like, yeah. How can I get financial aid out of this? I mean,
Yeah.
putting that together is like if you watch the old episodes of like Unsolved Mysteries,
Mhm.
there were stories of like the very first uh the very first um online scammers,
Right.
right? The Dark Dantes of the world
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
who did the things with the famously he was the one that did the telephone scam with his modem where 100th caller gets a
Right.
Porsche. So
Yeah.
he just
Oh,
used
what's
the
it?
he used the modem to basically was like, well, oh, well, this is easy. So I'm going to use this to jam up all the lines except mine.
Right.
So I will be caller 100.
Right.
And stuff like that, when you look at the genius of exploiting stuff back then when there was no like workaround on this, I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
is great. Your ass went to jail for a long time for all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but I'm like, I really, I don't want to say I respect the hustle, but I kind of do.
It's clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was one of the guys that eventually the government sprung and said, help us, you know,
Yeah. There's been
help
a
us
couple
beat this
guys like
stuff.
that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
remember his story. So I don't think he was on Unsolved Mysteries though, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was. That's it. The thing was, I thought it was such a cool story that I thought I was the only person who saw it, so I kept trying to use Dark Dante as my handle.
Oh, and yeah. No.
Oftentimes it was taken.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, y'all, the rest of you saw this? Like, asshole, this is famous. It was on national TV when national TV was a thing.
Was still a thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No longer a thing.
Like the Thursday night ratings or whatever for back then like Unsolved Mysteries would have been like 14.2 million.
Right. Yeah. It's equivalent to a modern Super Bowl.
Right. You're not fucking around, man.
Yeah,
It's
I
it's
know,
it's
man.
true. It's true. Like the World Series would love to have those numbers.
Well, I don't think it's that bad. So,
Uh, Will broke it. Well, yeah, because he broke it down the last time around. It's like they had the best numbers in forever because it was Dodgers
Yankees, yeah.
right? And I guess that sent it through the roof. But like the previous, I don't know. I can't even tell you who the last series was. It's kind of like the um,
Um, yeah, I can't either.
no. I'm going to tell you things that aren't actually teams. It's kind of like so
Right, yeah.
it's like the Toronto Wickets versus the yeah,
The
versus
California Surf Sharks.
yeah, the Tallahassee Bowling Green.
Right,
It's just
yeah.
like I don't know.
No, yeah, but I don't know. Games will change too, man.
I love it.
So
I really do.
yeah,
It's just
I think it'll be
it's
healthy.
so positive. It's like I love
And the
this.
other thing about it is, I mean, so like everything that movie's gone through, games going to go through about 10 times faster. So
Makes
just because
sense.
there's not as much legacy in there, and there's honestly not as much romanticism behind it. Like,
You're correct.
and then like nowadays the market is so fragmented. I mean, consoles are like specialty items.
And how?
Yeah, and then the same thing is true with like even PCs. PC gamers have like really tripled down on, like just about everything gets released on PC now in some form or another.
Yep.
Nothing gets released on Apple. you
They
know,
tried. They
they
tried.
tried so many times. I had a guy. He's on Twitch, and I watch him every now and then. He was laying it out how much of a pain in the ass it is to actually get certified through Apple servers and stuff like that. And he's like, and this is for 0.3% of my audience. Yeah.
Right. So I did. One thing I did see. I talked about I talked about this with one of the guys that one of the apps I use for Japanese is a smaller one, but I think they do great work. They're buggy, right? But what they offer is actually very good. And he broke it down. He broke down his demographics, right? He said like I think he was trying to be nice about it too, but he's like Android people are cheapskates. It's like what? He's like so. Here's my audience breakdown. Um, it was something that tune. He's like 75% of all of my users are on Android.
Hmm.
They constitute like 4% of my paying
Oh yeah,
customers,
yeah.
right? It's like all my paying customers are on Apple.
That's interesting.
And so he was at this conundrum. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
He's like, my customer base is clearly here. My paying customer base is all over here.
Mm.
How do I get A to be like B?
You can't make it.
I don't know.
No,
I
you can't.
absolutely don't know
You
how to
can't
answer
make
that
that
question.
happen, man. I mean, you got to ask yourselves, well, why aren't you making the Android people pay for it? If there's ways you can't do that, then you're just sunk at that point in time. You use them to market to the people that do actually pay. Is how you do that. You say, oh, we got 2 million users. Fucking 1.7 of them are cheap asses, but you know, you get one of those that's not a cheap ass and say, oh, this got 2 million users.
Well, so here's the thing is like, let me flip it around. And since we both use Duolingo, right? Obviously, those guys are doing okay,
Yeah,
but they give away free product all the time.
sure.
Is that I'm trying to think about like what the trick is that's working
There's
is
kind of this ratio that works on the internet that a lot of marketers have kind of figured out that,
yeah.
like I see guys on Substack do this, and there's this guy that I follow. I don't pay him anymore because I don't need to, because quite honestly,
Right.
the way that he sets his up is he's like, I write 4 articles a month, 3 of them are free. Okay. And
Okay.
it's like, and out of those 3 that are free, every now and then someone will sign up for the paid service. And that more than makes up the difference that it
Okay.
requires for me to actually pay, the time that it takes for me to write those 3 free ones.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's what a lot of people, especially with apps, and that's why Duolingo, I mean, I can do it just fine for free.
Yeah.
It's got its reminder in there every single time. Okay, I can, I know the graphic by heart. It's like having the first cartoon every time on the Saturday Morning Express. You
Right.
know exactly what it is. Probably involves like Fruit Loops or something,
Right.
but whatever. So it's kind of the same thing, but you use your free business to drive, to get customers interested in your product,
Yeah.
and who knows, they might get me someday.
Right.
Not today.
Right.
Okay, but I'm still using the free service, which means I'm not using a competitor one. And so there you go. I mean, it's just like that's the whole thing about the internet is people don't want to pay for shit if they don't have to, and that's perfectly fine. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and Apple is different, man. Just I mean, like, okay, I don't know what the breakdowns are, but I can tell you that just in my classes, about a third of my students use Macs.
Right.
They're not
Right.
gamers. They're not the gamers.
Nope.
I can tell you that right off the bat.
Nope.
Okay, yeah, no. If they play games, they do so on their phone. All right, from the Apple Store. Great, no worries. Okay, but when I listened to this guy on Twitch the other day, he's like, "Yeah, I don't make games for that because none of my audience is there."
Right.
Okay, and the amount of
Right.
money that would take in order for me to capture that little bit is not worth it. So I just don't try. So, and it's like, okay, that's legit too. I mean, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, this is that uphill battle that they fought for many years and continually lost here is they're like, well, how can we also make this a gaming platform or make our own gaming platform or things like that? And it never took. I mean, this is
No.
the funny thing is if you look at, um, so again, it looks like a tiny little piece of like a futuristic space station broke off, and that's their mouse. And if you look at it, I mean, it's still a one-click mouse. It really
Right. Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like no gamer could ever use this in
No.
any
No. No.
capacity. It's like this is fucking ridiculous. I mean, in fact, there are a
No.
lot of people. You've seen that crazy contraption I have here for my wrist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
even that has a ton of superfluous controls on it
Hmm.
too. Let alone any self-respecting gamer who has like fucking 29 additional controls that
Oh,
they're
dude, that's my fucking mouse. My brother bought me a mouse last year. It looks like a fucking Decepticon. So I still just use three buttons on
right.
it, but it's got plenty more if I need them.
Yeah, and there are people that are into that too. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but you cannot basically say like, well, we're trying to get gamers. It's like how? Well, you have a one button mouse, and you're sticking with it. And
Right.
again, it's a very like closed garden. That's the
Mhm.
walled garden is their approach. And again,
Yeah.
for for that audience, and again, they've leaned into it. And like, I'm not going to pretend. All right, the core audience that they want to capture, and right, is girls.
Oh, Apple?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And to that
It's
end, I'm
half the
like,
market. So,
that's correct.
yeah.
Now that means that and there's a lot of dudes out there. It's like that there are women that judge it. It's like, what kind of phone do you have? It's like the good one, bitch. What do you? It's like
Don't
but you
say
don't do
that,
that.
God.
No, of course not. But if you're coming into this where you're gonna judge me for that, I'm like, nah, man, don't do this because if what's gonna happen is I'm gonna say shit that you don't care about. I'm gonna break it down and say like, all right, so on a technical list of things here of why I prefer this over this here. Okay,
Yeah,
stop
you
rolling
lost
your
me
eyes at me.
already. Yeah.
Stop rolling your eyes at me. All right, I want you to care about these things. She's just gonna keep laughing
We're
at
already
you,
done.
and
Yeah.
she's gonna say like, yeah, but don't your messages show up all fucking funny when you send them to me? It's like, yes, they
Yeah, they
will.
do. Yeah,
They will,
they
and
do.
you're going to do that. Do I have to tell you about the incident in San Diego when the government wanted that? It's like, I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't had too many arguments with Mac people, but I mean, I certainly deal with plenty of them at school, and it's just one of those things. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't read pages.
Right.
It's
Don't.
easy for you to turn that into a PDF. I can read that.
Right.
So just help me out here,
Right.
kind of thing. But it's not it's not an issue. So
No. And again, this is where I the only basis I have for that argument is when people will say like, this is the best, right? Like
the question should be for what?
the answer
Yeah,
is for you.
yeah, there you go.
That should always be the
Yeah.
answer, right? Now, the question there is like, how did you make that decision, right?
Hmm.
And who made that decision for you? Was it the guy at Best Buy, or did you?
Now it's almost like generational, man. It's like,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
my dad got me an iPhone when I was 12.
Yeah.
And so now it's your platform. I mean, that's like my
My
dad.
granddaddy was a Jets fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the first truck I bought was a Chevy. So,
And
then the next one was a Chevy.
were they were they all great?
Yes.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yes.
If I put you on the machine?
Yes. Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I've had, discussions about like traditions and stuff like that, and that's if you wanna hold to it, like who am I to judge? But there
It's
is
fine. You're allowed your brain preferences. So
don't overthink it.
don't
This
overthink it,
is
man.
just like
Yeah.
have fun. You
Yeah.
know. But that the same thing goes the other way. Like, please don't be judgy about other people in that regard.
And their product choices.
Correct.
That's like the stupidest thing to judge people on.
It is the
Come on, man.
it is the identifying yourself by the product you support is the next thing in line to what you do in terms of what makes you interesting.
I'd say that's considerably less interesting than what you do for a living. So
Right, but I mean, when it comes to like introducing yourself first, it's like, oh well, it's like, oh, well, my name's Linda. I'm in HR. I'm an Apple user. I'm like, all right, go on. Please,
no, it's Tinder
please.
profile.
Oh man, there was a person that went off of this. There's a term that is making the rounds that has been completely co-opted. Have you heard this? Practicing self-care.
Oh yeah. Oh,
What
dude, that's been around for
It's
ages.
been around for ages, but the question of what does that mean
It means you're unemployed. Yeah.
now? Well, well, technically, no. I mean, it's supposed to mean that you pay attention to your emotional needs and um, you address those. You get massages as necessary. You here's the thing is like you'll see this out of a lot of like professional
Jeff,
Times
it is
articles
fucking
love to write this.
filthy on LinkedIn with that stuff.
Oh,
I see it all the time.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. And they've sort of turned it into like, yes, you should. If you find yourself wanting to hurt people at work, you should take a day off,
You
right?
should find a new fucking job, is what you should do. So,
But this thing where it's sort of turned into like hedonism is that's the market.
oh, it's totally hedonistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, completely, very much so.
yeah.
And it's, oh man, I could go into a mini boomer rant here, but
Please,
no,
you
I don't
haven't done
really,
one in a
I
while,
don't really
man.
feel like it, man. It's been a long semester and I'm tired. It's just, I've seen so much of that shit on LinkedIn, like I'd say maybe the last year,
Yeah.
and now with tariffs and Doge and all that stuff, it's just thick with it right now, because
Come on, man. I do not live in the LinkedInosphere. What is the
well, I mean, it's completely dependent on who you're actually in contact with. I mean, I have a fairly substantial network on there, so I get the pretty decent sample size, but like amongst the people that I know who, post on that stuff regularly, there's definitely a link and correlation between people who are productively employed that is
Yeah.
negative related to like the amount of stuff that they post along those lines, as opposed to people who are kind of wish casting in a lot
What
of
is wish casting?
wish casting. I'm living my perfect life right now, but you're not.
Wait, you personally?
No, well, me, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wait.
I
Oh,
mean,
all right.
no, but like you see that on there, it's like, well, yeah, okay, let me look through your profile here a little bit. You sales rep at Target, huh? And you got two master's degrees. uh, are you living your best life, really? So I don't know about that. So just call that into question.
And that's wish casting?
Well, yeah, because you're trying to put together like some kind of persona where you're happy and content, where all the signals indicate you're not. So does that make sense? So
Okay. And so how does that? how does that manifest into like what is when you do that? What are the telltale signs that can say you're doing this?
Probably the frequency at which you post that stuff would be number one.
Okay, okay, okay,
So like, every now and then, yeah, someone will put up a vacation pic. Or I'll even do
okay,
that every now and then. Say, hey, I'm at this conference, blah, 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 something like that,
okay,
kind of thing. Or, hey, like last year when I went fishing, I was like, here, I caught a fish today. So get outside
okay.
a little bit, guys, some kind of stuff. That's fine. All right. But, when you see someone who's constantly linking to articles that deal with like self care, work life balance, which is another one of those trigger words of mine. So phrases,
Right. Yeah. I wrote a pretty good article about that once. But
huh? What?
I wrote a pretty decent article about that once.
Yeah, I think I read it.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
in fact, I know I
misnomer.
did.
Complete misnomer. But yes.
It is a misnomer. So, but that's also a tell right there in some respects, because quite honestly, if you're really content with your job and you're moving forward and you're doing stuff, I mean, LinkedIn is probably like one of the last places you post that stuff up. I'll go up there every now and then, just keep in touch with my, all the people that I've met over the years. I was like, hey, I'm still alive, I'm still out there. Do you need
Sure.
help?
Sure.
And that's what I do is I ask people, it's like, what can I do for you? Kind of thing.
Right.
So it's not like I don't need you to do something for me. So, and I
Right.
don't need you to like, um, I don't need you to listen to my rant. To tell you the truth, that's what I got YouTube for, man.
All
So,
right. No,
yeah.
I got that. I got that. I mean, is it
There's this whole thing, that's like our generation is guilty of passing on to the last. And I hate generation shit, but whatever.
well,
The whole idea, well, work is just work, and treat it like that, blah blah blah. And
okay.
you can't really do that, man, because you can't really separate. And the thing about it is that when people learn to separate work from a large piece of their personality, and they're not happy with one, it bleeds over into the other very quickly. And so that's
Okay.
I see
Okay.
that on
Oh,
LinkedIn all the
okay.
time. Does
Got
that
it.
make sense?
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, it's like, well, my job sucks, so I'm going to tell you about my vacation. So
I see. Okay. Because I
yeah,
was.
so I'm going to tell you about my
hmm.
self-care regime.
Okay. Okay. So that's basically. So when you're doing that, that's sort of a like, give me a follow so I can kind of like, hit you up for something later.
Can be.
Because I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but the time that I spend on LinkedIn, and it's not much, but from the things that I follow on there, there's this sort of like I don't want to say deceptive practice, but it is what it is, where it's like, all right, so present yourself as a human being, and
Mm-hmm.
that's cool, and present yourself as a human being to sort of come across as like, yeah, yeah, we're talking, but eventually, at some point, you're going to ask me, so really, just honestly, man, are you satisfied with where you get your paper from at the office?
I've never had someone do that. So
I feel like at some point you're going to have to get down to like the business of what can I do for you or what can you do for me?
yeah, but see, like LinkedIn is also like having your own personal Discord too. You decide who to let in. So, I mean, like I've
Yeah.
had people hit. I guarantee you, I could pull it up right now. There's probably 4 or 5 textbook salesmen who try to fucking friend me.
Right,
I can
right,
spot them a
right,
mile away,
right,
man.
right.
Kind of thing. I've never had a roofer, hit me up. I've had
If
plenty
I
of
knew,
financial
yeah,
advisors hit me up.
yeah.
We're like, oh, we've been cruising through profiles. You look like someone who could use some financial advice. Blah blah blah. It's like, really? Did you just if I could say that? So it's like, obviously, you think I make way more money than I do. Got it. So, but I mean, you can kind of see through that a little bit.
Right.
And the thing is I have a sample set. I have a sample set of a whole bunch of people who are very successful at what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll hit them up and, hey, what's going on, man? How are things? Oh, things are great. Blah 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 blah. And I'll go look at their profile. They post like once in the last year. So, or if they are posting, it's on projects that they've completed. Kind of thing. So,
Gotcha.
and it's like, oh
Gotcha.
man, that's great. Like you're obviously kicking ass. Thanks for sharing. Keep at it. Can I keep you as a reference? let me know if you're looking for anybody, that I can send your way. So, and shit, man, that's how like the people that I help on there. That's how I do it, man. Because I'll have this guy that graduated like 6 years ago, and he's some fucking regional vice president of something or another, and he's looking for something specialized. Rather than putting that job up on fucking Indeed, he'll reach out to me and says, "Hey, I got this coming up. You got to go to anybody who fits this." And it's like, yeah. So talk to this guy. So works out almost every time.
Well, okay, yeah. So it's all right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like the fishing out there. Well, I don't mean fishing in terms of like do not redeem, sir. But
Right. Yeah.
it's like in terms of like actually trying to everything, but essentially like cold calling. But that's sort of like what a lot of people are trying to do.
There are a lot of people on there who
You
try to do
know?
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are.
yeah,
So because it is a little bit more realer than a lot of other social media out there.
right.
You can go find that guy.
Yeah,
So if you need to, so it's not that hard. So, but at the same point in time, it's also, like I said, it's a personal Discord. You talk to who you want to talk to.
yeah.
So on that thing.
Well, I mean, if you go to like other social media things, like you go to like X and you find like you'll find more than your share of like butt plugs that will go in there that they'll go in their bio and they'll basically describe themselves as like, oh, I'm a writer looking for work, and it's next to this, and there's like you look at the fucking um you look at the bio tattoos of bad decisions, and you're like, okay, writer looking for work, Ukrainian flag, some kind of like some kind of inclusion flag, some other kind of like dumbass flag, um, some publication that you've never heard of,
Oh
um,
right, yeah.
right? And it's just, and these are like, there's a component of this where it is like Dunning Kruger like personified, where the noisiest ass people are the ones who have just a tiny bit of experience, which is basically
That's true.
yeah,
That is 100% true.
which is your version of like teacher here, or it's like the ones that are piping in usually aren't the ones where it's like, well, as a 35-year-old civil engineer, like, you know why they don't say shit? Because they're out there busy doing like civil engineer shit.
Yeah, they
It's
got
like,
they got a job.
it's like
Yeah.
I would have commented, but I was like overseeing the dam, right?
Right. That didn't flood your house today, thanks to me. Yeah.
Whereas the dickhead who's kind of like, well, according to the 7 principles of comedy, like, oh god,
Oh
okay,
god, yeah. Twitter is so insufferable. So I don't know. It just keeps throwing me into doom spirals, on that thing. That just like I don't know what it was. Probably because I listened to a couple of the guys that were throwing bombs at her last week. But
yeah.
fucking a, if Lauren Loomer didn't show up on every goddamn feed that I had last week,
Why?
I don't know.
What did
So
she do?
I have no idea. So I didn't read it. But
All right.
yeah, I was like, okay, why are you here? Okay, I don't subscribe to you. What?
Right.
Yeah,
No, it's sort of like it's weird sometimes uh, when sort of things that are just like at the very periphery of your sphere. It's like a very inorganic like ad campaign where you're kind of like
mm,
you're watching TV a few years ago and it's like this is Billy Eichner. I'm like I could give a shit. Why do you keep trying to put him in everything? It's the same kind of like it's like I don't want to watch this bizarre gay man walking the street hassling people, for like
mm,
outdoor. I never would. Like,
no,
get this the fuck out of here. It's
yeah,
just one of those weird things where, like, a small, I don't want to say council because that gives them credit that they don't deserve, but a series of like, so it's the same fucking dumbass producers who sit there and think like, all right, I've got a movie. It's like, oh, you know what? I don't care if it's serious. I don't care if it's comedic. It's like put Jack Black in it. It's that same.
right, yeah,
It's that
yeah,
same
yeah, yeah,
cadre of completely creatively bankrupt people who just look at like, um, oh yeah, yeah, grab him, because
yeah, get
people
him.
know who this is,
Yeah, exactly.
and
He's
people
gonna
like.
give us more visibility.
And now,
Yeah.
what can I say? Like, evidently, that Minecraft movie is.
It's gonna make $1 billion.
I think it may be there already.
It might be.
It actually may be like a cultural phenomenon, like something that people of a certain age, like it'll be their goddamn Woodstock.
It might very well be. Yeah. So the whole like what's the jockey thing?
The chicken jockey
Chicken
thing.
jockey thing
Yeah,
is just it's going bananas. So that even bled over a little bit into my Twitter feed.
yeah, it's wild, and I'm like, okay, so I wouldn't have predicted this,
Nope.
but in the same token, I'm like, but all of my indicators of being a human would say that this is probably not going to happen. Like, I presume that certain people have like taste and shit. So like, when I when I go like, this is one of those like, and none of you fucking guessed it either. Did any one
No.
of you jackass like movie critics who was like I saw this coming? Bullshit, you did.
Bullshit you
Not
did.
a single one of you.
Nobody
Don't even
did.
fuck around. Every one of you saw this and said like, this is
Yeah.
an exercise in retardation. This is going to be a footnote in history. I'm going to bury this with the live action Smurfs movie. I'm going to put this with the live action Troll Dolls movie. Like, this is like biker mice from Mars territory. Stop fucking around and acting like you called it. None of you called it.
My daughter actually liked the Trolls movie. She made me watch it like 5 times.
Okay,
So,
Patrick, but is
she was 6. You know. Come on, man.
and that's the point,
It's fine.
right? You had just as good of luck calling whether that's so. Anyway, yeah, I know, but
Yeah. No.
yeah, yeah,
That's a little crazy.
I know. But that's the thing, and then the other, like you mentioned, like the Doom area right now. It's we're in this no man's land tug of war where like nobody has any real expertise to talk about shit that hasn't been done, but the same crowd of people that were microbiologists when Reddit was happening and
Right.
legal experts when the Kyle Rittenhouse thing happened.
Yeah. Now we are experts on international trade.
Experts in international trade. They're certainly well spoken enough to say like this is clearly self defense. Like, you sure? The guy did bring a knife to a school event and stabbed a dude in the heart.
What is this?
You haven't seen this?
No. What is this?
In Texas, it's the man's name, the boy's name is Carmelo Anthony, right? Not the basketball player.
Okay.
It's spelled with a K, right?
Got it.
But
When did this happen?
this happened last week.
Oh, yeah. And see, like, we had a big school shooting at FSU last week, and that just whoosh gone too. I didn't even
Gone.
see this one.
So the story on this one is so this is a school event. This is a school track meet.
Okay.
Okay. So the schools have tents up, right? You know, the track teams.
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
do-
sure,
okay.
yeah.
So a kid that's from the other school is hanging out in the other school's tent.
Okay.
He has a bag with him.
Okay.
Okay. And the full layout of what happened has not been released, but there's been some snippets. So a guy from that school, the guy who actually attends that school,
This is a high school.
yep,
Okay.
he goes to Carmelo Anthony, who's in his tent, and the full details of the discussion are not revealed, but there is a scuffle, right? And basically, it comes down to like, well, you're not supposed to be in this tent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what has been said is it is well documented, and supposedly there's some footage. Is young Carmelo Anthony says like, try it and see what happens.
Okay.
Now, what ultimately happens is he goes into his bag. He has a knife. He stabs the kid in the heart.
Stabs Carmelo in the heart?
No, Carmelo stabs.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry. I'm just trying to get the facts right here.
stabs the it's a white boy in the heart.
Think Carmelo is not white?
Nope.
Okay.
The boy dies almost immediately. Carmelo Anthony is now claiming self-defense. Now,
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see this.
okay, now there's a couple of things on it that are sort of like bizarre. Is first his bail is set at $1 million.
What's wrong about that?
Well, because the activist judge reduced it to $250,000,
Oh, okay.
so he could post. And there is a GoFundMe.
Is he a minor?
He's 17.
Okay, so he's a minor.
Yeah,
He'll be charged as an adult in Texas, though.
that's correct.
Yeah.
And one of the bigger controversies is that so the father of the victim, right? He has been explicit. He says, "I do not want my son's death politicized." He says, I don't want this to be used by either political party. I don't.
Too late.
Yeah, because I don't think he's a minister, but he's a very religious guy. But he's just kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
like life is about. It's not about this. It's about forgiveness. It's stuff like that. Um, so Carmelo Anthony's family immediately sets up a GoFundMe and
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
raised $1 million thus far.
Yeah.
Right now, there have been so they have this. This much is true. They haven't used the money from it yet. It hasn't been released, but they have purchased a new house and a new car. Um, Now they're saying like, but we didn't take any money from this. Now, granted, any person that sees it's like, well, yeah, but if you're like trying to buy like a house, you just go to like payments received. It's like you do have that money, right? But um, so the father of the victim shows up at the press conference because he's trying to make this a peaceful thing.
Uh-huh.
They force him to leave.
Who does?
The family of Carmelo Anthony and some
Wait a
jackass.
minute. Was he holding the press conference, or were
Yep,
they?
they were not
Oh,
the,
he showed up to their press conference.
correct
Oh,
because he's
okay.
trying to be peaceful about it,
Yeah.
right? So they force him to leave.
Yeah. Okay.
He leaves.
Yeah.
Later on that night, people SWAT him,
Oh,
and this is kind
did he
of
survive that?
yeah, he did
Oh, okay.
because
Good.
the cops show up and it's like, look, I'm
Bro.
clearly
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm not shooting. Uh, but this is the thing that is it's a lightning rod right now because of
That didn't even hit my radar.
it's fucking everywhere right now
Oh
where I
yeah,
am
no, that
because
didn't
it's
even hit my radar, man. You must be in different circles. I don't know, man. Yeah, my whole thing has been trade experts and Laura Loomer this week for some reason, and then the like fucking Blue Origin with
oh
Katy Perry
god.
and stuff, and it was just like, okay, if America's problems have been reduced to this, I'm going to switch off for a little bit.
This
So,
oh my
I'm
god.
good.
It's
I'm
like
going to go watch baseball now. Can I go do that?
what do you do? It's like you turn on the TV, you look online, and it's like, what is this? You're like, okay, you're trying to show me that sending six rich ass women to space is an advance from women. There's two people on here that are like actual astronaut tangential. Like you should be here, right? Because there's like the two professionals that have to do with like astrophysics and stuff. The
On that?
rest, yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't see the whole thing.
the rest of them are like, why is Oprah's friend here? Why
Yeah,
is
it was
Gail
just to
King
be
here?
insta famous, you
You
know.
know, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and fucking. I mean, one of the funnier things was, it's an 11-minute flight. Katy Perry's kissing the fucking earth when she gets off the ground,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah,
then they
like,
show
he goes back like the Martian. You
they show the picture of those astronauts who were stranded for 8 fucking months,
Oh yeah,
and they've got this like World War I and II stare on their
they
face, like
totally do. Yeah,
they're like, this bitch was gone for 11 minutes, and she's kissing the
yeah, I know.
ground. Like,
It's like I'd like to know how many radioactive isotopes she picked up. Yeah.
and what's the thing is, you're like, so what's the value of the people that went up there? It's like, we had two scientists, like, cool. Oprah's friend, it's like, yeah. Katy Perry, yeah. Somebody else is like, okay. And Bezos' fiance.
Was it her
Go on.
birthday? Yeah.
Dude, it's like, I want to go on that. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's his rocket.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say who goes.
Knock yourself out. Yeah. No, I just saw that, and then instantaneously, the feed the next day was all about this fundraiser on OnlyFans, so they can get two of the girls up there, just like with 1,000 guys, so they can do the first porn video in space in 11
Outstanding.
minutes.
Great.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that is completely predictable. I mean, I should have thought about that. It just takes about 5 minutes to think about before you
I know.
realize that wasn't going to be the next headline. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. I know.
No, man. I mean, it just seems like things are actually pretty cool right now. So, because it's just kind of like nobody knows what's going to happen. Everybody's kind of gotten to that like that space now. They're like, all right, well, whatever. I'm done trying to figure it out.
It's rough, man. It's the same like I can't. Here's the thing. I can't penetrate the din right now because the
It's thick.
exactly because right
Thick.
now when it is broken exactly on the lines that you would have expected, right? Where it
Yep.
turns out like so the trade thing exactly 50% of the voices are saying like this is exactly what this needed to be done. This is way overdue, right? And these are the same things where it's like, oh, well, okay, so here's this is Bernie Sanders, this is Nancy Pelosi. These are people who were crying for this 20 years ago. And the other side is like, no, this is a terrible idea. You're wrecking this country. And so you have this mix of like, best thing ever, destroying us all. And this whole like bounce back and forth. And it is a good point where they're like, what do you care what the market's doing?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, I thought you said it's like you have it tattooed across your chest. It's like you want the rich to be eaten.
Right. Yeah.
So why the fuck do you
Why do
care
you
what
care
the
about
stocks
this?
are doing?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well,
No, a lot of
you
people
know,
pointed that out this week. Yeah.
so there's this mess in there with that, and then the other component of the other one is the y'all are battling really hard over an MS-13 member. Um,
That was stupid this week. And I mean, it was just like, how many rakes can you step on?
the dumbest
I,
hill to die
it
on.
was, it was, and, I was watching that dude that, what's his name? Whatever, Senator Van Hollen or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Trying to back that up yesterday, walk that back just a little bit. Well, it doesn't matter about who he is, it's like the due process thing.
Due
I was like,
process,
you did
process.
not make that case 3 days ago, man.
Right.
So, and I mean, I bet you showed up to that thing and took one look at his knuckles and said, fuck.
Patrick?
And I'm pretty sure that somebody had photos of that before, So
Well,
did you go down there without doing your homework, buddy? And then it was like, oh, wait a minute, we found the police reports. Fucking Andy No found those in like fucking 30 seconds. And I was like, yeah, you guys didn't really think this one through. And then I saw all kinds of like memes and stuff on the Twitter backing that dude up, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. So
30,000 people on Reddit upvoted, right? A picture. So it's a picture of that asshole's knuckles,
yeah,
right? Now the caption was, "It's amazing that his tattoo matches the caption in the photo," because they think that this guy,
yeah.
that Donald Trump went and photoshopped the
Oh,
letters
real? Oh my god.
MS1 and 3 above the symbols on his knuckles
Right.
because they weren't there. 30,000 fucking bots actually, press the, it's like, oh my God, look at this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
30,000 bucks.
fucking MSNBC is now blurring out the hand when they show they're blurring out the
Dude,
knuckles.
MSNBC cut away from the president's speech on that.
Fucking, it's
Like
crazy.
10 seconds
Yes.
into it, where they realized where it was going. And to CNN credit, they kept it on. So,
CNN is trying to turn over a new leaf a little.
I think so,
A
man.
little bit.
Yeah. So Fox had it on. So, it was just Fox actually aired Joe Biden's entire speech the other night. So the other two cut away from that. Dude, I actually read that book about, like, I just finished it. That was all about the election last fall. Those guys.
Oh, really?
I did read that. It was interesting. It wasn't very conclusive. So it feels like a rough cut. But yeah, it was, and it was written by a guy who was at NBC. So
Okay.
he was a little, I wouldn't say cagey about things, but he was like, "Oh no, my editors didn't ever, tell me not to look into this. I just didn't have access." Kind of things. Like, yeah, okay, that could be true. So
Right, but there's a component of like,
really, yeah,
I don't believe you can read your own handwriting, detective. This is
right, yeah, exactly, yeah,
this kind of stinks like bullshit. Because if I look at to go into like some of these like the actual like good journalists, the good like the ones that you can tell were like, wow, man, you actually had a passion for this once. You're like you wanted to actually dig and research. It's like you mentioned Andy No, like it's like yeah, he's a good journalist, but he just has access to the same Google that I do, where it's
right.
like, well, if I really want to know the truth about that, let me try and type this. and this. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Post, right?
Yeah,
Where you have to actively be looking to not report things
yeah.
for this to be true.
Well, he was talking specifically about like to his credit, there's a couple stories that he references that are actually still out there. Because he was writing about, or maybe it was his partner was writing about Joe Biden's fitness regimen,
Mm,
and
mm,
they repeatedly got cock blocked by the press office
right,
on that one.
right.
And so but they thought it would be like, oh, this is a cool expose. What does a 70-year-old president do to keep fit? Kind of thing. It's not a bad story if you think
No,
about it.
no.
So but he couldn't get any sourcing on it whatsoever. Because the White House wouldn't give him any access to any of that stuff. And
Right.
so, but it was like, well, I bet you could probably find his personal trainer,
Yes.
or someone who knows that person or something like that. But anyway, no, the book itself was interesting. Nancy Pelosi absolutely knifed him in the back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't really that bashful about it, but it would always say, well, he's going to make the decision that he's going to make. So,
Unmolested? Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it was kind of interesting. It did not paint Kamala Harris in a very good light. Apparently, she is an absolute terror to work for. So,
Here's the thing is I don't know how many sources you need beyond your own eyes and ears.
right.
There is something where you can look at this person and say, nothing about this is all right. The more I watch this, and the more that I see these things here, when I look at the different personalities, right? Donald Trump is a menace. Okay, he is because he knows who he is.
Mhm.
Everything has worked for him in his life thus far. Ergo, there's no good reason to change it.
Yeah, he's not going to change.
Which also means that the strategy of Donald Trump is like his personality is it's genuine, but it's like he loves like holding out his five and saying like low five and then pulling it back and saying too slow, right? There's
He does that.
and the problem with that in every other country, if you're trying to deal with someone like that and you're in power, is he has the dangerousness of not knowing when he's going to seriously drop the hammer. And the element of randomness is more effective as a tool than anything in your arsenal because you're like, a lot of you guys have skated. I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you don't know is when you're going to be the guy who serves 125 years for this. Do you want to take
Right.
that risk?
Yeah.
And that's sort of the dangerous part of it. Like I feel like other people, like JD Vance, I think he'd be more open to like, let's talk about what's fair. I think it's fair that everyone does 5 years instead of than one person doing 125.
Yeah.
Right? Which is when you say like, what makes a good teacher? That's a good answer. But the one that you're afraid of is the dude's like, I can't be the one caught holding the bag.
Mhm.
And so you just look at the person as, and then you get to Kamala Harris. And if you just watch her, like through what she did through the campaign,
Mhm.
you're like, you are the most disingenuous, fucking like rude. Like you can just tell it's like you're not nice.
No,
You're not
that
even
came out
pretend
very,
nice.
very clear in that book. So apparently, her biggest pet peeve is if you're even a second late to a meeting. you know. So there was a couple examples of that, and then yeah, it was just kind of interesting. They actually talked about some of the inside baseball and that some of the people. So there's basically that book does a pretty good job of fingering like basically the four people who were like cock blocking everybody around Joe Biden, and yes, one of them
Mm,
is Jill Biden. So
yeah, that's pretty obvious.
yeah, no, that one's probably the most guilty of all of them. But
She did, and she like you could tell. There's certain things where you could tell like, what's the term you use over your skis? It's like, ma'am, nobody voted for you,
correct,
right?
yeah,
Yet you are at a lot of these meetings.
yeah. Well, and apparently he would grow like he would start out the day pretty good, and
Yeah,
so they would do a lot of important shit early.
right.
So because he was basically cooked by about one, and so that's when they would schedule the dinners and things like that.
Yeah, but it's lunchtime.
Right, yeah. So it was an interesting kind of inside look, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's still like I said, it's kind of a rough cut of the whole thing. But yeah, there were four distinct people who were it was like, oh, you're the guilty party here. And it's like, well, so who was actually in charge of that? And the answer is it actually was Mayorkas who was in charge of the border.
Really?
Yeah, really. So because it really wasn't on his radar, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, I guess I can see it.
yeah. He said he would go months without talking to certain people in the cabinet, like Janet Yellen. He met her like three times.
That I can believe.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Because she said shit that was completely contradictory to anything else and was never was there was no version of like coming out the next day and correcting it.
No. No.
She just said things sometimes that are like,
Yeah.
are you, do you
Did
make
you
that?
clear that with the boss? Yeah.
It's like, because I don't remember him saying that. And of course, when like if you brought that up here, it's like, so what's your strategy? She's like, take the two bitchiest people that have ever lived. So when they ask questions, it's like, well, what about when Yellen said, "This meeting's over, fuck you,"
Yeah.
and you just like walk out of there. I'm like, and people are like, I guess this is what
Like,
counts as a press conference.
yeah, I guess
So I'm
so.
like, okay, that's
Well, and
fine.
they were talking about that too, and his press secretary, your favorite there, she didn't see him that often.
Oh, Black Mushroom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think she did. I think to tell you what, I think they gave her two jobs. I think they said like, all right, so this is your phone. This is Biden's phone. So
Right. Yeah.
so you're going to handle this shit in the morning with these talking points,
Mhm.
and throughout the day, you're going to send out some like 14, some like teenage level like tweets, and
Yep.
you're done.
Then you're done. Yeah.
Because I mean, I think there's an example like specifically where she didn't sign a White House like a Biden tweet like thanks Corinne, where she said, but there was one where it's like, did you forget to log out of your alt account?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's pretty clear this is written by you.
Cheers, KK.
You're right. There was one where it says like, yeah, like tacos sell great, or whatever. It's just, there was one weird one where it's like, nah, man, you got to switch accounts, man. This is clearly you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. It's
No, but then like a week before the actual election, like Kamala's data people came to her and said, "You're gonna fucking lose." So, but then all these other people were like, "No, man, we got the momentum, blah blah blah
Sounds like
blah.
that.
It'll be fine." But the two pollsters that were really close, they're like, "You're gonna lose,"
and she probably cussed.
and they nailed it. They
Yeah.
nailed the actual electoral college, like to the fucking vote. So and it was like, no, no, those guys are doomers, blah blah blah.
Right.
It was like, eh.
It's just like, did you guys have you forgotten that I am Brat?
Exactly, yeah,
Right. Don't you think that counts for something?
yeah.
It's like,
And apparently Tim Walz is actually an idiot.
I don't know how far you have to go with this, but it is pretty clear. Like with this guy, it's like you are at max one generation away from a brother and sister
Thinking of bump uglies within the
union.
family.
I was like, no, man. The
No, apparently that guy is absolutely a magoo, and like apparently he was terrified of JD Vance, absolutely fucking terrified.
he should be.
And JD Vance knew it, and he was nice to him on purpose just to freak him out.
Again, when it comes down to it, if you don't know when the randomness is coming,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
this just horrible decisions made by that campaign where you're like, wait, you're trying to pass off Tim Walz as your icon of masculinity.
Yeah.
Have you lost your fucking mind?
Dude, one of the things that did come out of that book, and I don't know if it's been confirmed or so, but Shapiro actually shot him down.
Wait,
Yeah.
he was asked?
He was asked.
And he said no?
He said no.
Because of what?
Because he knew he was going to lose.
Okay, so okay, so he was asked,
He was asked.
but he's just kind of like, look, I'm on the shore, right? And I can see clouds of rats leaving your sinking ship.
He said something else about, I'd only been in Pennsylvania for so long, I've got a lot of work to do here and I can support you better by actually getting you Pennsylvania.
That's a great answer.
It was a good answer. So, yeah, but, like secret behind it was like, she's fucked.
So he's like, well, if I can work with her, I lose 2 jobs, right?
Which is exactly what Matt Gaetz should have said.
Matt Gaetz would be so well served to just acknowledge. He's like, guys, I am a weirdo.
You should do a podcast.
Right? He should. He's just like, women and children find my appearance distressing. And
dude, grown men find your fucking appearance distressing. It's like, dude, I don't know how much turpentine you drink in a day, but you should cut it in half.
I think it's turpentine. It's just like whatever the normal amount of chromosomes is. He's either one short or has one too many.
What was that shit that King Griffey Jr. was drinking?
I can't give you the full name. I can tell you what it causes.
Right? Yeah.
So that's go to Gates's wiki page right now, and just in the bottom part, just very subtly, just has mild gigantism. mild gigantism. Let's see how long we can keep it on that page.
I don't know. I'm sure his has got locks on it by now.
You're probably right, but I don't know. Yeah. All right.
Well, anyway, it was a royal shit show, and it was kind of fun to read a little bit about it. But again, rough cut.
Hey, man, all things considered, like if that's what we got away with, where you missed some of the bigger stories of the week because they got bled out by other things, I think it's finally starting to cool down a little bit then.
I agree. Yeah, it is. And, like, here's the thing that's the big blessing is it's coming to summertime, man. You know, and people are just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to go take a vacation, or they're like, you know what, I haven't worked on my yard in a while. Right. Kind of stuff. And it's just,
my dog is getting fat.
Yeah, and we don't have an election this year, which is an absolute blessing. Because
we can't handle it. We're not mature enough.
We're not mature enough to handle it. We got changes to fucking 6-year terms, man. So it's like you got to give it enough time to cool off.
I agree. Actually, the right people need to cool off. There's because I mean, look, Reddit's still going to say what they say. They do what they do. Yeah. So that's the thing. But the right things are happening in some ways. What are the right things? Well, you're not hearing about Tesla explosions and fucking vandalisms right now.
Right.
Why? Because the people have been caught and they're being persecuted or prosecuted, right? And it's turning out that some of these are big numbers.
And it's pretty easy to catch them, too. I actually saw this whole thing the other day about, Antifa and how, like, their whole strategy of getting large crowds together and then just doing fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Amongst a bunch of people who are just there to legit protest kind of thing. Doesn't work anymore because the cops are in the same fucking Reddit. And so now they've taken to like their infrastructure attacks, which is 2 guys in a fucking crowbar, kind of thing. And those guys are way easier to catch when there's not fucking 50,000 people surrounding them.
That is correct. Yeah. Yes.
So, and I was like, that's a really good point, man. And the other thing about it is like, the Tesla attacks and stuff like that. But then this story should have gotten a lot more press last week, but they actually released like the border crossings, the numbers. Did you see that?
What, 1?
Yeah. It's like nothing.
Right.
Okay. And so, and like, I saw this press conference by Marco Rubio the other day of all things. Which
he's not little Marco anymore.
He's not little Marco anymore.
He's like a grown man.
He is. Yeah, he's full Marco now. But whatever.
He's just Marco.
He's just Marco. Yeah, there you go. He's just Marco. So, but anyway, he like these guys are asking questions and stuff like that. But somehow it came up. It was like, so something about Central America might have had to do with San Salvador or El Salvador, or something like that. But he's like, look, when I talk to these guys now, their problem isn't, taking people back and stuff like that. It's people who go halfway there and then turn around and have to come back now, and that's because they know they can't actually get across the border anymore. So, and he's like, that's their number one complaint. He's like, if that's their complaint, I don't see what we're complaining about. Because they're not even getting to Mexico anymore.
No, Pat,
Yeah.
this is the crazy shit. The really crazy. This is the thing that should have people furious, right? And when you break it down, you say, how long has Trump been in office for this second term?
2 months.
And what you're telling me is that in 2 months
He
we could get
fixed it.
crossings to zilch.
Yeah, we didn't even have to use your fucking suicide drones.
And usually I had like 24 like handmade ones made as like proof of concept. I'm like, and there's like they're filled with shit that I made with like Clorox and all
Right.
this. Yeah, I mean, like
You gonna give it? You hit him with mild irritant?
like and yeah, I made one. It's cool because like it will blow up and it's got like carpenter nails in it. It's sweet, but it turns out they didn't need it.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Sorry, man.
if they can clean this up in 2 weeks, then what the fuck were we doing before?
I
That
don't know.
has to be deliberate.
Some of it, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like I don't know where I saw this. Might have even been on Ben Shapiro's show last week, but they actually took a look at like the amount of like social security numbers that had been issued to non-citizens,
Yeah.
which, okay. So like I have colleagues, they get a social security number when they get a green card, right?
Yes.
You're going to pay into the system,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay, but like there's no explanation as to why there's this humongous spike in those in 2023 and 2024. It's bananas. And it's like fucking quintuple, the number of.
And this isn't one of the things where they can look at it and say, like, well, this is clearly just a number error. You guys are reporting it weird. It's like,
No, these are verifiable numbers where they go out there and they find that like over the last 3 years, the last 2 years in particular, there's over like 4 million of them.
yes.
And of those 4 million, like 2 million of them are enrolled in Medicaid. And it's like, you got to be fucking shitting me.
And there's you're
You
like,
got to be kidding me.
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Right. That's the, I know. And
Yeah.
the
I had never seen that data before. That blew my mind because I thought, okay, all right, so maybe there's a ramp up. And there was a little ramp up that started in 2017, okay, because that's when even when Donald Trump was still president, they were making preparations to withdraw from Afghanistan. And so they passed this thing that like expedited the whole, like asylum seeking, and that was designed for Afghanis originally. And then all of a sudden, 2 years after the Afghan war was unceremoniously ended, which I still give Biden credit for, even though some people hate that. But whatever.
you know,
You got to rip the fucking Band-Aid off, but whatever.
Hey.
Okay?
look, I'll put it to you this way. I agree with you like 95% of the way because you're right in terms of like eventually you got to just do it.
Yeah.
And will I argue that it could have been better prepared? Yes.
Oh, of course.
But it was done.
Done. And I mean, some of that's on a SecDef at that point in time and things like that. I mean, President tells you get out on Friday. You say, well, how about next Friday? And he's like, okay, next Friday. And then you do your fucking job.
Right.
Yeah. So I get it. I get it. But then, like, okay, so that happens in 2020. Okay, right after the election or fall of 2021. Why the fuck are there a shitload more people 2 years later? So using that same thing, none of whom actually came from Afghanistan. That's bananas.
Well, on top of that, and this is the other ruling that came down today, where this fucking like this rogue federal judgeship, they got to do something about this because like
that's going to come to a head.
Because the last one today, because exactly with this, because you can look at it as like there's no fucking secret what you're doing. We're like, well, we're going to grab this many asylum seekers. And we're going to take this block,
and
we're going to put them in this state, in this spot,
right? Because it's in this jurisdiction,
and this is this is no accident.
No, dude, there is an absolutely easy breezy, off the shelf fix to this. Absolutely, don't even have to fire anybody. Okay, I mean, I know you want to, but don't
me.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, federal judges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So and this has been on the books for years as a solution to this activist judge thing. It's like any federal case is randomly assigned to one of the districts. That's all it would take. And so I'm telling you, man, that's going to come. That's going to come before the Supreme Court. We're going to see that. That's going to be the big fight. Like maybe not this summer, but definitely fall session. One of these federal things is going to boil up to that level.
Well, it's going to be this one because what happened
Maybe.
is the ruling they just made on this
Mm-hmm.
was the because Biden brought these people in.
Mm-hmm.
Trump said, "All right, well, they got to go."
Yeah, right.
And so the ruling today was no, each person has to have an individual trial.
That was a ruling from a federal judge, though,
Correct.
not from the Supreme Court.
No, this was
Yeah,
a federal
okay.
judge.
Well, that might be it. That might be the one that actually gets up there. You never know. But they've got like 10 of them to pick from. So I don't know
Yeah.
which one's actually going to go.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I mean, this is absurd. Like, again, if you look at the numbers, it is fucking ridiculous. It is like executive orders made, executive orders, contested, and it's like 1 for 1.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not surprised by that. But I mean,
Just you have to look at the other numbers. It's like 1 out of every 6.
well, no, I know. But like a lot of things have come to a head at this point in time. I'm not surprised that that's
Oh,
happening.
all
Does
right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and then at this point in time, I mean, what it means is one of those is going to get before the 9 justices that will actually like reform it. So because I can't. And I'm sorry. The 2 liberal justices on the court are not going to be able to stop that.
No, well, it's so you say the liberals. I mean, there is so Barrett has been defying the wagon lately and hanging out with the girls, but that's
She's a good jurist though. So she knows her shit. So
in theory. Here's the thing: is so if you break it down and if you look at what they should be doing, right? They should be breaking ranks more often, right? But that also means that I need to see like Jackson and Sotomayor actually breaking ranks more often and actually saying
they won't.
but they won't.
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, and I mean, you can say the same thing about Alito and Thomas. They'll
right.
never break ranks either.
Right.
So
right.
those 2 guys are simpatico.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's like rare. And so usually it comes down to like Gorsuch is a little bit of a wild card, although he usually is fairly simpatico with he's probably the most libertarian justice on the court.
Right.
And so sometimes if you bring him some weird Rand Paul shit, he'll go full Rand Paul on you, so. But the other thing is like, it usually comes down to Roberts, who's the Chief Justice.
Roberts and Barrett, yeah.
Well, yeah. And, okay, fine. So we have a centrist, chunk of the court there. You're going to tell me that they're going to let activist judges fucking usurp the entire federal government? So this is why I'm curious to see what case goes before there, because that's actually going to determine a lot of that. So I've gotten out of the business of actually like predicting what the court's going to do. My batting average is so fucking bad that I'm not even going to bother with it. But still, at the same point in time, one of those things is going to come up, man, and it's going to be interesting. And it might be this next session that starts up in the summer. You never know.
God damn, man. Yeah, there is some really significant shit going on, but yeah, it's
slow moving. It's slow moving right now. It's not election fast. It's pretty slow moving. Yeah, but it's much bigger in some respects. I mean, we're gonna see like it's gonna take like 3 months, but we're gonna find out whether or not Best Buy is still a thing without China. And whether or not people actually give a shit.
Well, is Best Buy an American institution? I mean, people have been joking that it's been an Amazon showroom for a long time. And look, actually, part of their model has changed, and they're very smart on this. Is being a cell phone aggregate.
They are the cell phone superstore.
Is actually that makes perfect sense for them versus being like, so there's like our DVDs, and you're like. What is this? What is this technology?
Coasters?
It's like, oh, okay. Oh, no, I know what DVDs are. Those are movies that have yet to be edited by someone to take out objectionable content, right? It's like, yeah. These are just historical devices because you're not gonna fucking watch a movie on it.
They're movie vaults.
This is the thing. Like the other thing they were talking about. I hate to just keep diving this so closed up. Like the shitstorm that is the Nintendo Switch 2 right now, where Digital copy $80, physical copy $90, right, for these games
Yeah.
for a $500 console that is on par with the PlayStation 4. And now there's talk about like, and Donald Trump's tariffs are going to add another 100. Like, so here's the weird things to this is $90 for a physical copy, and I'm like, you know what, that is absurd. But then you get down to the point of like, why the fuck do you want that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get for that?
Yeah.
And it turns out that what's on those cards? Fucking nothing. You put it in, it doesn't just play.
It unlocks it.
It goes to the internet.
They completely Ubisoft you.
And I guarantee you, there is like, when it comes to like absolute fanboyism, right? Undying, like tattoo on my heart. Check it out, brah. Fanboys, like Apple's up there, but Nintendo is not too far
No,
away.
it's not too far away. That's okay. If you want to be a fan base, fucking pay for it.
There you go.
Very good.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm
All
good.
right. All right.
I'm Pat.
Thanks. I'm Jeffrey.
Bye.
Bye.